So in this video, I'll be talking about my first impressions of the Bambu Lab H2S as a primarily terrain printer and a wargamer. So let's get on with it. So the Bambu Lab H2S is their new, more affordable, large format printer. So it's a fully enclosed printer with a large build plate, basically catering to those people who really want to print some big things. And I've been using mine now for a couple of weeks so far, and I've got some thoughts about it. And my previous use case when it comes to Bambu Lab printers are the Bambu Lab P1S, the A1 and the A1 Mini as well. So when I've been printing my terrain, that's the sort of thing I'll be looking at as like a reference point. Now, first up, it's a big machine, and you'll need to bear that in mind. When it arrives in a big box. You have to pay more for delivery because it is a big, heavy thing. It's something like 43 kilograms in the box, so you will need probably somebody else to help you get it there. Once you pop it out of the box, it's all nice and protected. You'll need to get it in place. So make sure you've got somewhere in mind that this printer is going to go. And you might want to have a second person just to help you get it in place. Surprisingly, I was able to lift it on its own, which is good because I've moved mine around several times already. But I'm 6'2", so my arms are just about able to reach. If you've got shorter arms than me, then it might make carrying it around just that little bit more tricky. Now, there is some feet on the bottom of these, and these feet are well and truly grippy. They just about fit onto this side table when I first set it up, and it stayed in place. I don't think it was going to be going anywhere. Didn't stay there long term because I was worried that eventually that table would tip over, but these feet are it's not going to slide anywhere. If you've got it on like a smooth surface, it's not going to slide. It is well and truly going to stay in place. Helps you just to level the printer as well and take out some of that vibration, so you're not going to be getting loads of rocking noise and stuff like that. More on the build quality, it has a screen on it, and oh, I love this screen. The Bambu Lab P1S, which was my first Bambu Lab printer, has a tiny little Kindle screen, and it is abysmal to use. You can't really interact with it that much. I've then got used to using a screen on the A1 and the A1 Mini, and they are lovely screens, but on this, it is big. It is bright, it is vibrant, and it is also tiltable as well. So if you are like me, I've put mine now on the bottom shelf. This is where it seems to have ended up. I can tilt it out so that way if I'm just looking down and want to see the progress and stuff like that, I don't have to like crouch down like Gollum on the floor in front of it and all of that stuff. It's just, yeah, you get the picture. Filament spool is on the side, which might be contentious for some people. At first when I saw it, I thought, why? But that's good because it means it helps take away some of the depth, because again, it's a big, deep machine, so it means you can get it closer to the wall. And also as well, it means you don't have to reach around. If you're trying to get the spool replaced on the back, I don't know why I'm doing actions like this, but you'd be having to properly reach around. It would be really tricky. Having it on the side definitely helps. I do, however, find that actually loading the filament's kind of tricky on this, because the spool is just a little bit too high to where basically you feed the filament into the buffer, and it just gets in the way. So you then have to like turn the spool and feed it in at the same time. It's just a bit tricky. You don't have to do much, but for me, it was much harder to load in than any of my other machines. And that might just be me being incompetent, but just kind of was weird and tricky. It's also got something on here that I never knew that I needed, and that's a complete flat bottom. So basically underneath your build plate and everything, where all the bits of debris fall down, or like your filament bits build up over time, on previous machines like the P1S, it's all been recessed inside of the machine, which means it gets really dirty and it's hard to kind of, clean out. You need to get like a little vacuum and suck it all out, or try and sweep it into your hand and pull it out. On this, it's all raised up and flat, so you can literally just sweep it all out. It's not a major thing, but it's a really nice quality of life improvement, and just one I'd never thought about actually wanting. So that's nice to have. Whilst we're talking debris, the poop chute, it's still not very good. So basically when your filament is getting purged, it does it into this poop chute and it drops out the back. Mine's still clogged. So on my P1S, I always had this issue where gradually over time the filament would then backlog in the poop chute. You get these big blobbies of poop. You then need to manually intervene with it and pull them out. Same thing happens on the H2S as well. So that's still not really been improved. It seems to be a larger poop chute, and I never thought I'd be saying this on video. It's a larger poop chute and a little bit wider, but things still gets clogged in there. So, future engineering, if they could do something about that, that would be great. And then another few things I haven't fully experimented with yet, but you've got the exhaust on the top as well. So basically this little vent opens on top, and it helps to exhaust some of the air out to keep things cool. So when you're printing things like filament, you're not going to have any issues with warping. Historically, I've never had any issues on the P1S, so you know what, your mileage may vary, but it's worth knowing. And it's also got some exhaust on the back, but a quick word of caution on these. They've got this really sticky tape on them when you get out of the box, and when you pull that tape, it might pull some of the fins into like an open locked position. Now this is actually really easy to fix, and the great thing again about their software is it pings up on there and it says, look, the exhaust is stuck in the open position, you need to fix it. Sent me to a guide on how to do it, so you'll be able to find it as well if you end up in the same position. Basically, you just squeeze like the little vent bits and they pop out, and then you can just slot them back in and then it just works. So it's a really nice and easy fix. But at first I was like, oh, I've just broken my brand new machine taking some tape off it, but easy enough to fix. Anyway, enough of all the build stuff and let's talk about the printing. It's basically what I expected. It's going to offer me that same Bambu Lab grade quality that I've been getting on previous printers, but having much more space to do so. Now, although it is bigger, it surprisingly wasn't a huge jump from what I was expecting. And I don't know if I just had really unrealistic expectations. Now, I'd be a liar if I said it wasn't bigger, because of course it's bigger, and you can print a full-sized helmet on this as well. So you can print a full-size helmet in one go. I printed the Space Marine helmet. It comes off lovely, and I suppose that's the thing that people wanted, to be able to print it. Anything bigger would probably then up the price too much. Anything smaller would just be pointless because we've got other machines for it. But it wasn't as big as I was hoping for. Now, the thing where I've run into limitations is actually the height of the machine. Build plate wise, I've been fine. I've been able to cram everything that I want to on there. But when it comes to the height of the machine, that's where I've been running into some issues. And that's probably just some of the stuff I've been printing off to start with. But I wish it was just a little bit taller. Like I said, build plate is fine, but I do wish it was a little bit taller. This dragon, for example, is about the maximum height that I was able to get. This was literally scaled right up before I started kind of getting boundary issues, and it was saying it's not going to fit. And it is big though, so bear that in mind. This is, again, I might be tiny. Not many people know me in real life, at least who watch this channel. So this isn't a great comparison, but just as a point of comparison, this is about as tall as you're going to get. So if that's good, then great. If not, then you might need to consider a different machine. However, you can cut things up, so it's not too much of an issue. Anyway, going back to the size of it, this is going to be great for those of you who are looking to print off like cosplay props, just props in general, helmets, armor, stuff like that. It's going to be great. Regardless, you're probably going to have to cut things up like your armor chest pieces and stuff like that, but you'll be able to do shoulder pads, gauntlets, everything all in one go on this. It's a really decent size for that, so it is great in terms of that. However, going to the quality of prints that I've had from this, it's fantastic. It is the exact same, or at least I can't really tell any difference between terrain that I've printed on this versus something like the Bambu Lab P1S or even my A1 as well. So it's still that great quality that you'd expect from Bambu Lab. So if you're printing terrain, you're going to get some really, really good results from this. Obviously, that's good and it's bad, because the good point is that you're still going to get that fantastic quality. But the bad there is it's not actually better quality, or at least anything that I can see with the naked eye at this stage. It still looks pretty much exactly the same as a P1S, which is a good and a bad thing. Whilst printing as well, the spaghetti detection definitely works. When I first started trying to print off this Space Marine helmet, I was a little bit too ambitious with the lack of supports I put onto it, and it failed. And then it pinged a notification through to my phone, basically saying, hey, this has happened. It paused the print and waited for me to review it just to see if it actually was spaghetti or not. Yeah, and it was spaghetti. And whilst I'm on this subject as well, the camera is no longer a potato, which is also nice to have as well. So if you're doing things like time lapses, or you just want to be able to check and see what's going on inside of your printer, this is a much better camera. Time lapses, however, do require an external storage device. I need to put like a USB stick into it to store those time lapses onto. I've not done that yet, so that will be coming in the full review. Also, when it comes to print quality, you've got the hot swappable nozzles as well, very much similar to something like the A1 and the A1 Mini. Don't have to mess around with any screws, which is nice. My only complaint about this is they're still using that awful like plasticky squeeze, like front plate to get to the nozzles. Unlike the P1S that had that lovely magnetic plate, which is like slotted on and off. Why? Why have we gone to this? Because they break. They do break. My A1 and A1 Mini have both broken when I have to squeeze those off. So I normally just leave that front plate off. It's a real shame that they haven't gone for like the magnetic release that they've got on something like the P1S. But there's probably some cost things in there to consider, which is just frustrating. And one final thing on printing as well is the power consumption. So the power consumption I've measured so far is between 160 to 170 watts, which is pretty good, all things considered. I'll try and throw some extra bits up on screen, and this is just for PLA. I haven't done all the measurements yet, but when I come to my full review, I will have it measured for like PLA ABS, PETG, and all of that, just to kind of give you some ideas of how much it's actually using and also consuming. This was also without the chamber being heated because it was keeping a nice steady heat anyway, so I'll do some measurements for that in the full review. But about 160 to 170 watts is pretty good for a machine of this size, and it's not that much more than what I was measuring on my P1S when I first started out, which was about 110 watts normally. So in conclusion, at this very early stage, if you are thinking about getting into terrain printing, you're probably better off looking at Bambu Lab P1S or an A1 or even an A1 Mini as well, because they are amazing value propositions which will still give you that fantastic quality that you get across pretty much all of your Bambu Lab machines. You're not going to get too much extra going to something like the H2S or the P2S, for example. However, if you are somebody who is also wanting to print off really large things, like large pieces of terrain, there might be some like big skyscrapers and buildings you want to print off in one rather than having to piece them together, helmets, props, all of that fun stuff as well, then you already know that you're the ideal customer who's been waiting for this printer to come out. And you probably already know that this is what you've been looking for. And I can say that in my very early impressions, only in a couple of weeks, that you will still get that amazing quality that you got on things like the P1S as well. I've been really impressed with the print results. And my big concern going into this was when it gets larger and you're having to deal with that, there's going to be some sacrifices you need to make. But fortunately, so far, I've not found any of those sacrifices. But with some longer term usage, I'm sure some things will come up. So if you are looking at buying one of these, if you're looking at upgrading from a P1S and you're just doing terrain, probably stick with the P1S for now. However, if you do need something that is larger, it's definitely worthwhile having a look at. And I've had a lot of fun with it so far. So thanks for watching. Throw down any questions or any bits that you want me to answer for this in the full review as well. And I'll do my best to explore those. Things like power consumption, I'll make sure I look into other print qualities, printing with other materials. I'll just have a lot of fun with it. So stay safe. And in the meantime, happy printing.